As the beat-em-up revival continues, Double Dragon is the latest series to make a return to a gaming platform near you. Brothers Jimmy and Billy Lee are back in Double Dragon Gaiden, Rise of the Dragons, with an expanded roster to do what they do best, kick ass to save their city. When the city's new mayor appears in their doorway, carrying an injured Marion in his arms, it's up to the brothers to take down the gangs that hurt their friend, and make the city a safer place for everyone. With the mayor in their corner, and both Marion and her Uncle Mountain providing backup, no one is spared from a good old-fashioned thrashing. When you take the classical formula and throw in some new mechanics that brings the brothers Lee into the modern age, you have a recipe for some fun times bashing heads. The city is meaner, the gangs more dangerous, and the combat way more refined. Rise of the Dragons isn't reinventing the wheel, but some new mechanics spice up the traditional beat-em-up salad. You've got single-player or two-player co-op, honestly the best way to experience a beat-em-up, with side-scrolling, level-based action across a variety of common locales, with hordes of goons and unique end-stage bosses to take down. The first breath of fresh air comes from the tag team mechanic, which sees each player controlling two characters, which they can switch between at any time. This lets you switch up your playstyles, as you could use Marion, who relies almost entirely on firearms to fight, paired with one of the brothers whose speciality is close combat. Tagging out between characters gives you some breathing room, as nearby enemies take damage or get knocked back, while also letting the injured character restore a fraction of their health. There are no classic lives here, unless you count your second character as one, and there are very limited food drops to heal yourself with, all of which makes tactical play important, as the game throws waves of enemies at you. What you do get is a fair amount of cash that can be traded in for tokens, which can also be used for continue tokens, unlockable artwork, and extra characters for your roster. Tying all of this together is a novel roguelite take on the IP. As you might expect, death is the end of a run, and you'll have to start the new one from the beginning, as your checkpoint gets deleted. However, at the end of each sub-level, all that cash you collect can be spent on character upgrades, including more health, damage, and tag team specialties, while any left at the end of the run is converted into tokens for the aforementioned unlockables. You can always customize your runs when starting a new one by changing up the difficulty, enemy health, and aggression levels, along with some other modifiers that determine how much money you'll need to convert into a token. Suffice to say, the harder your run, the less cash a token will cost you if you survive. Thankfully, if you choose to quit the run in the middle of the stage, when you restart the game you'll be back on the campaign mission screen, so you don't have to worry about losing any progress unless you die. This structure is significant, as Rise of the Dragons only has 4 missions for you to play, and all are immediately available on the mission screen. However, each mission gets successively harder and longer, depending on the order you play them in, the idea being the gangs are reacting to your efforts and beefing up their defenses. In reality, it just works out to longer and more sub-levels per mission, along with more boss fights to get through. What does change significantly are the mechanics of each boss, depending on when you fight them, changing many from walkovers to tough and complex encounters. Of course, this roguelike design would mean nothing if the game didn't play well, and thankfully, Rise of the Dragons is honestly wonderfully fun. The combat system, which features moves from across the series' history, has been refined quite a bit, and there's a huge emphasis on crowd control above all else. You move slower than other recent beat-em-ups, but it feels appropriate for the tactical approach the developers want. Crowd control is very important, and not just because of the number of enemies that swarm you, but also because taking out huge crowds at the same time will spawn in much needed food to keep you going. Each character also plays differently, thanks to all the moves they could draw from, and their unique supers. The brothers obviously specialize in close-quarter combat. Marion is a firearms expert, and Martin is the wrestler tank, with slower moves, but also the wonderful ability to grab and power slam goons and bosses. There are also plenty of unlockable characters to play with, including bosses and some of the IP's favorite bad guys. Overall, Double Dragon Gaiden, Rise of the Dragons is a solid new entry into this long-running franchise, and a good fit for the Switch with crisp visuals, smooth animations, and solid performance. That said, it changes up the character designs and visual style for this new outing. Regardless, the combat mechanics are fantastic and it encourages more tactical play. The roguelike elements didn't make the game as difficult as I was expecting, but the many unlockable characters and the ways boss fights can change have prompted me to tackle multiple increasingly tough runs. Both fans of the franchise and fans of beat-em-ups in general should find a lot to love. If you've got this far, please consider giving the video a like and maybe subscribing to our channel, as it helps us grow.